Aye, Shepherd's Pie, greetings from the Philippines. Welcome back to the channel for a coffee and a chat. And this video is going to blow you away with its positivity. Well, that might be a slight exaggeration, but I'm going to do my best because I've looked back at a few of my recent videos and I might have been a bit negative about the Philippines. Certainly people have said in the comments that I'm being negative about the Philippines. That's never my intention. I always try and be honest. Constructive observations are the way I like to look at it. But yeah, I have highlighted over recent weeks some of the negatives of living in the Philippines. But today I'm going to concentrate only on the positives, because there are negatives, but they are outweighed by the positives, which is why I'm still here. There are a number of positives. Now, I have made a video on this subject many months ago when I first started the channel. The reason I'm revisiting it is twofold. One, you run out of things to talk about when you're doing a YouTube channel. But more importantly, my views have changed. What was important to me when I first arrived here is not necessarily as important as it is to me now, 13 months in. It's definitely changed. I have reappraised. So these are my 5 best things about the Philippines now, where I am at this stage of my time here. And they're personal. You know, some of them may not be for you, but they're certainly for me. So, without further ado, we'll crack on. Number 1, still the people. It was always the people. The people in the Philippines are very, very friendly. It definitely depends which island you're on. Some islands are more friendly than others. Some cities are friendlier than others. Now, I am no expert on the Philippines, as I always say in the channel. I've lived in Dumaguete, but in different parts now. I've lived in Sibulan, I've lived in Valencia, and now I've been in Bacong for about 5 months now. And I've spent about 6 months in Siquijor, and they were very different. Siquijor was the friendliest with the locals. Sibulan wasn't particularly friendly. Dumaguete is great. So it's going to be different wherever you go. I don't need to have travelled to the Philippines to know that everywhere is going to be different, because in the places I've lived so far it's been different. But they are a very friendly sort, and it puts a smile on your day when someone says hello. I do think the smaller the island, the less expats, probably the friendlier they are. They're incredibly friendly in Dumaguete, in Siquijor. When I first got there, I thought it was the friendliest place on earth. But it's not. It's a friendly place, you know, but there are a lot of friendly places in the world. I always found Egypt, when I used to go diving, they were very, very friendly there. But they're friendly people. A lot of people will stop and have a chat with you. I mean, they're certainly friendlier than they are in the UK. You know, a lot of bars, if you go in there and sit down by yourself. I say bars, not because I spend my life in bars, just I don't usually go to restaurants by myself. And restaurants aren't really places where you would tend to strike up a conversation. But a lot of bars here, you'll go in, you'll sit down, and the bar staff will start talking to you. Where have you come from? You know, what do you do? What's your name? And it's nice. There's a lot of countries in the world that you do not get that. And they are not doing it for a free drink or a tip or whatever. They're doing it because they're friendly people. So yeah, the people is a big one. My biggest factor here is the people, definitely. Visas is a huge one. You know, it is. When I was in Thailand, because I was younger then, if you don't watch the channel, I spent just over 7 years living in Thailand. Visas were an issue for me because I was too young to get a retirement visa. So I had hassle with border runs and, you know, various things I had to do to stay in Thailand and to keep my visas legal and not overstay. I tried to embrace it. We always did. We would turn visa runs into holidays. You know, didn't just cross the border and walk back again. Did in the early days, but they cracked down, so you had to go for longer periods. It was a hassle. Even if you embrace it, it was a hassle. Now I'm 52, I can go back to Thailand, I can get a retirement visa, I wouldn't have those hassles. Here, been here 30 months now, visas are a dream in terms of the ease. I went last week, went down to the immigration office, I renewed my visa for another 2 months, got a new ACR card. Easy, you know. There have been talks about, you know, the visa system getting tougher now and the interviews being a bit harder, you know, asking you why you're here, and, you know, the suggestion is that they're going to crack down, or they are cracking down, or they're going to look at visa applications more closely. It was my impression on the one before. I did go in, they did ask more questions, but I'm not sure if that's because of new directives, or it was just because I'd been here a year, because apparently you do have a different interview after a year. This time, didn't ask me anything. You know, I just went in, did it myself. I used to use a visa agent, but now I last couple of times I've gone by myself down to the place. I may well do it online next time. You can do your applications online now, but I've been told by people in the comments and people I've spoken to, if you go down the online route, it may work for the first couple of times, but the third time they'll generally refuse you because they want you to go into the immigration office, you know, and ask you some questions and make sure you are who you say you are. That seems to be the plan, the way it works. I've not done it yet, but I'm just going to swap the aircon off now, it's getting a bit cold. I didn't do it this time because I needed to get a new ARC card. I can never remember if it's ACR or ARC. I'm not very good at things like this, but remembering stuff like that. But it was no issue. She didn't ask me any questions about how I was supporting myself, or, you know, what my intentions were or whatever. I just filled the form in. She said, you need a new card. I said, yeah, I know, it runs out next month. She said, how many months do you want? I said, 2 months. Because they've done away with the 6 months. You can't get a 6 month extension now. And that was it, you know. Touch wood, I'll pick it up next week. In the past, I've gone for the, what do they call it? The expedited one. You pick it up the next day, you pay an extra $1,000 for it. But this time I thought, what's the point? So all being well, I will pick up my new visa on Wednesday next week. And a couple of weeks later, I'll go and get my new card. So you can't get much simpler than that. It was nice when you had the 6 month visa, because I got that the first couple of times when I come over, and it was nice. It was good. You know, you didn't have to worry about it for 6 months. But as I say, they stopped the 6 months now, so you've got to go every 2 months. I could use an agent, but I used an agent for the first year I was here, but the last 2 times I've gone, I've done it myself, because to use the agent, you pay more for it, but they do a decent service. But the visa agency is next door to the immigration office. So I'm not trying to put the agency out of business, but you've got to ask yourself, you know, what's the point? If I've got to go down there to the agency to fill the forms in and give them the money, and then go back and pick up my passport, well, I'm not doing any more paperwork or any more, you know, travelling or whatever. Just going to the visa office and picking it back up again. Anyway, it's not about me. It's about the 5 best things in the Philippines. And yeah, visa's a big thing. It is. It's easy to be here. It's relatively easy to get a marriage visa, I understand. I don't know, I'm not married. You can get a retirement visa. I'm led to believe, I don't know because I've not looked into it, when you apply for a retirement visa over here, you've got to do things through the book. As I've mentioned in previous videos, in Thailand, 99% of the agencies there will bypass everything. They'll get you a retirement visa. You don't need to worry about funds and all the rest of it. So it's easy there if you're going for a retirement visa. I understand in Cambodia now, Cambodia is probably the easiest country, certainly the easiest country in Southeast Asia. Don't know if it's the easiest in the world, because I've not travelled around every country in the world. But there, the retirement visas, I'm led to believe, are incredibly easy. When you get to 55, you don't need to really prove anything other than the fact you're 55. and you can get in and start. But I'm not 55 and I'm not in Cambodia. But certainly here, I've had no problems with visas, and it is a big plus. The second one, or third one rather, is ease of living. It is very easy to live here. Now, what do I mean by that? I've touched on it before. There's a flip side to this, but I'm not going to be negative. I'm going to be honest. I'm going to be positive. I have mentioned some of the negatives of the easy living here in terms of the power cuts and the brownouts and the problems with the water and the internet and all the rest of it. In spite of those, because it's a positive video, the living is easy here. And what do I mean by that? I mean by the fact we're looking at moving house, probably, very shortly. You want to rent a house here, as long as you've got the deposit, whether it's 1 month or 2 months up front, fill some paperwork in. I would only ever pay 1 month, by the way. I would advise anyone against paying 2 months in advance, because you give them all the power. It's not in their interest for you to stay there. If you have a dispute and you leave, they've got 2 months of rent off you they won't give back, and if they can get someone else in within those 2 months, then it's in their advantage. I'll only ever give 1 month deposit, but the point is, that's just me. It's just a tip. But I've rented 4 places now since I've been here. No one has ever wanted anything. The most information they wanted was this last place when we moved here, was they wanted a photocopy of my driving licence and my passport. And that was it. There were no references. There's none of that. You can just hand over the keys, you can go, you don't have to prove anything. Other than that, they were just happy with the ID. In the UK these days, if you want to rent a property over there, you've got to get references. They do background checks, they do credit checks and all that kind of stuff. None of that here. You can just shake hands on a place and move in the same day a lot of the time. Very hard to do that in the UK. Virtually impossible, I would suggest. You get a lot of flexibility. There's a lot more options here in terms of houses. As I was saying to Ellen the other day, you go to a small town in Thailand, or a small village, it's very hard to get somewhere to rent. Very hard. Because people are living in them. People don't go there and build houses, to rent out, etc., etc. It's a lot harder. Here, it's so easy to get property to rent. The police here. I have had a couple of issues. If you've been watching the channel, I've been stopped a couple of times, and there was a time when there was an issue in my driving licence, etc. A time I didn't have my paperwork, registration for the motorbike. It's not really a problem. They don't mind about stuff like that. I'm not saying this is a good thing. I did a video a few months ago when I asked some people about the party, and one guy said, the worst thing about the Philippines is it's a lawless place. The best thing about the Philippines is it's a lawless place. In the sense that, in Thailand, if you didn't have your registration or you didn't have your driving licence or something like that, it's a problem if the police stop you. There, they are very much in the business of making money. They will take your bike keys away from you if you're in Pattaya or somewhere like that. They impound the bike. You've got to go down the police station a couple of hours. There will be various fines to pay. Then you'll get your keys back. They are always purposely looking for things to stop Westerners for, because they see you as a cash cow. Not so much when you're up in the provinces. I never ever had an issue up in the provinces, but in Pattaya, they're out in force trying to milk you. Here, you get quite a few stops, but they generally just wave you through to see your driving licence. They're not, and if you have got a problem, like when I didn't have the registration document, there was nothing. Had to go down a week later, and within 7 days, I had to go to the cashier in town. It was a 200 peso fine. It was peanuts. It's easier, I know people who've had various issues over here. The police have got involved because people have insisted. It doesn't generally come to much, it's good in that sense. I'm not advocating you break the law or anything like that. Just saying, it's a laid back place. If you can live with the brownouts and all that kind of thing, as the locals do, not much stresses them out. A lot of people will when I did a video the other week out front, they were going about the cockles, how do you put up with it, etc. The new place we might be moving to, there are no cockles. Well, the flip side is, you know, they say about the karaoke. You could make noise if you wanted to. You know, I could have my stereo blasting at full blast here, no one bat an eyelid. I don't want it. I don't want to have cockles. I don't want to have dogs. But the point is, you could. It's not like the UK, you know, where people will be looking after, oh, it's too late, you can't be doing this, you can't be doing that. It's easy living. As I say, there's a flip side to that, a good and a bad, but it's a very easy place to live in that sense. What else have we got? It's got to be the cost of living. The cost of living is cheap here. You know, it's comparable to Thailand, which is a cheap, well, probably cheaper than Thailand these days. But yeah, you can live here on a budget. And in many ways, this place is paradise. There aren't that many places in the world these days, I wouldn't suggest, that you can live. I don't know why my shirt is so, it's very strangely creasing the way I'm sitting. It must be because I'm putting on weight. I watch myself in a video, I don't like it. Well, anyway, it is, it's a very cheap place to live. Our living costs are incredibly low. Now they're probably going to go up. This week we're going to buy a scooter. We may well be moving into a new place we found, which is double the cost here. But it's a nicer place, you know, it's, so they're bound to go up. It's still very, very cheap living compared to other places in the world. You could not live in the Bahamas or Malibu or somewhere like that for anywhere, you know, it'd be 10, 15 times the price of the Philippines. And the Philippines is just as beautiful in terms of its beaches and its waterfalls and all those kind of things. So cost of living, whichever way you look at it, it's a cheap place. And that's good, you know. I'm saying I'm a cheap Charlie, but it is nice to go out and know that virtually any bar I go to in Dumaguete, if I order a beer, it's going to cost me about 75 pesos, which is £1 in English money. You know, if we go out for a meal, there's not many restaurants in Dumaguete, you know, where your main is going to be more than, I don't know, 400, 450 pesos, which is about £6, you know, for whatever you want. So I mean, it's nice. Don't have to go in the restaurants and look at the menu and worry about the costs. So that's nice, all part of the easy living in the Philippines. Now this one is a surprise to me. It is the expats in the Philippines. In my experience, they are a good bunch, and it makes a difference. Again, as I've said in previous videos, when I lived in Thailand, the majority of my time I was living up a mountain. I didn't really know any expats. I knew a couple. There weren't expats in the area I lived. I enjoyed that in the sense it was more of an adventure. I was living like a Thai in Thailand with Thais, and I thought that was great. As I said before, I thought learning the language was all a challenge. You know, I liked all that. But since I've come to Dumaguete, I have learned to appreciate the benefits of having expats, because it's nice. It's nice that there's a little community doing, you know, various things. There's darts nights, there's music nights, there's quiz nights, all the rest of it. They are contributing to the community. You know, Filipinos go to these events as well, and you can go out and you can have a chat, you know, which I couldn't do in Thailand. At the time I didn't want to. I had it in my head that I wanted to avoid expats and I didn't want to have anything to do with, you know, the patio types and all that kind of thing. I was a bit of a snob. And I liked the fact that I was living in the mountains. Now, having been here for a year, I think I'd find it quite hard to go back to that way of life. You know, I like the fact that, you know, when there's a power cut here or something like that, I can go into town and I'm going to probably bump into someone I know. There's various bars and restaurants I could go to by myself, walk in there and know some of the people there and have a chat in English. It's a big thing. Interesting people from all around the world. You know, lots of Europeans, lots of Americans, lots of Canadians, lots of Australians. You know, and it's a big thing. You know, if you want to, as most people do, want to move to a country where the weather's fantastic, the people are friendly, You know, it's the living costs are reasonable, but still have contact with other expats, talk about expats things, you know, discuss sports, politics, and all that kind of thing. I don't think there's many better places in the Philippines. And basically, you know, there really aren't. I don't think there is in that sense. There are other places in the world that have other things to offer. But as I've said before, it's a strange place in the Philippines in the sense that there seem to be expats everywhere. You know, if you went to a town like, or city like Pitsanulo in Thailand, it's bigger than Dumaguete, probably 2-3 times the size. Nowhere near as many expats. And Dumaguete is not, you know, it's not like we're everywhere. I think it's Dumaguete, in terms of population, has one of the highest expat communities in the Philippines. But it's still only 3%. It's not like we're taking over the place, you know, or making any big changes. But it is nice to be able to go there and talk to people. You would struggle to do that in most cities in Thailand, without a doubt. You could do it in Chiang Mai, you could do it in Pattaya, you could do it in Bangkok. Obviously the islands are different. You can do it over there, I imagine. I was never an island person, I was a mainland guy. But it's a lot easier here, a lot easier here. I think anywhere you go in the Philippines, apart from obviously, you know, the very small towns in the provinces, you're going to find expats. You're going to find who you can talk to, which is nice. You know, it's not overwhelming. That's what I love about Dumaguete. If I want to have an expat chat, I can have an expat chat. If I want to go local, I just want to avoid expats and I just want to have, like, you know, a Filipino night out, I can go up to the North Point, I can go to some of the bars and nightclubs up there, restaurants up there, you know, so it's nice that you've got that variety. I don't think there are that many places this size in the world that you can do that. Not in Southeast Asia anyway, but some people may disagree, but certainly that's a plus for me. So the last one. Now this one is a strange one because I don't do it, but if I wanted to I could, and I think that's a plus. Now it may well be a plus for you if it's what you want to do, and that's the travelling. Travelling here is very easy, and things to do in terms of variety, there's a lot, but for some reason we don't do it. Part of that's me and part of it's Ellen, but we do not travel as much as we should do. But if we wanted to, we could. And it's nice to have it there. It's one of those things, when you don't use it, you're okay about it. But when you go somewhere that you can't do it, then you start to miss it. So for example, if we wanted to go to Cebu, or we wanted to go to Manila, or somewhere like that, very easy to do. The airport is a few miles away. There's ferries everywhere. You know, you can get to Sikihor in 45 minutes. You can get to Cebu Island in 15 minutes. Oh no, 20 minutes, 25 minutes if you get the fast ferry from Sibuyan. You can fly to Cebu City, I think in about 45 minutes. Not car, I don't want to quote, I've flown from Manila when I first came out. I can't remember how long the flight was. I don't think it was more than about an hour or so, maybe it's a little bit longer. But you can fly to a lot of places from here. You can have a change. You can just go somewhere. If you want waterfalls, if you want greenery, you can just head up to Valencia. They've got some amazing waterfalls there. You can go mountain hikes. You know, if you want beaches, there's various beaches around here. They're not the best, but there's some fantastic beaches in... if you like scuba diving, apparently Darwin and Bacong, some of the beaches aren't too bad for that kind of thing. But if you want to walk along the beach, they're not great. But we're not talking about me necessarily. We're talking about, you know, the options. Very easy to island hop in the Philippines. Very reasonably priced too. Ferries are cheap. Buses are cheap, coaches are cheap, planes are cheap. So if that's what you want to do, and we do aim to do more of it, then that is a big plus. Was not so easy in Thailand. Well, we lived up in the mountain there, in Phetchabun. It was a bloody long drive to get to an airport. You know, it was basically Bangkok, channel. I think there was an airport in Petrobras, but it wasn't, you know, taking flights and things. So you could, in theory, go places, but it involved a lot more travelling. The islands tend to be further apart, and there aren't as many. Here, my God, there's over 7,000 islands. You know, you've got Upper Island, not a lot there, but that's really close. You've got just here, you've got Sikihor there, you've got Cebu there. I mean, there are islands everywhere. It's so you could always find something to do if you want to travel. Again, there's a lot of places in the world where it's not as easy to do that, and it's a lot more expensive. But as I say, we don't do a lot of it. But hopefully in the future, we'll do more. But yeah, these are all, you know, reasons why you might want to think about moving to the Philippines, and these are all reasons why I'm staying here. I mean, I mentioned a few weeks ago I had to get a driving licence because I had issues with my other licence. I did make a video about it, but I was advised to take it down because it might get me in legal difficulties. But I might put one up again and explain what happened when I got stopped by the police, but I will have to word it differently. But there I went down to the LTO, and within 3.5 hours I had a driving licence. They converted my UK driving licence to a Philippine full driving licence. I got things on there to drive I couldn't drive on my UK licence, but I didn't ask for them, they just gave them to me. But the point is, I took 3.5 hours. It was easy. The trouble you've got here is there are time periods, and they change from island to island. You know, if I hadn't been here a year, it would have been difficult to do at the LTO. They probably wouldn't have let me. Some islands it seems to be 6 months. But the point is, it was a lot easier than it would be converting a licence in many countries around the world. You know, opening my bank account and things, you know, I just went in and opened a bank account after I'd been here. I think it was, I had my 6-month visa, I went in, I've never really used it. It was a kind of a paper exercise, I just wanted to have it. It was a lot easier. They didn't do the same checks they do in a lot of countries, you know, I don't know what checks they do, credit checks and that these days. I haven't opened a new bank account in the UK for a long time, so I don't know. But it was all very simple. You know, there are certain things here in terms of, like, you know, length of time you have to have been and type of visa or whatever. But if you tick those boxes, it's all very simple. So there you go. It's not the same as when I first did this video. When I first did a video like this a few months ago, I was jumping around because I was full of the joys of spring, because I thought I'd arrived in a wonderful place. Now, I still think I've arrived in a wonderful place, but so let's say the novelty has worn off, as it does do when you live anywhere in the world. And that may show sometimes in my videos, you know, when I come over as being negative. But I'm not being negative, it's not my intention, it's just, you know, it's, shall we say, we're past the honeymoon period, in the sense of, been here a while now. You know, things aren't new to me like they were when I first made the video. And I've come to value, you know, things differently. As I say, when I was in Sikihor, what I loved about it was the amazing places, the beaches, the going out, the meeting people, the party atmosphere and all that. But that wore thin, you know, after a while. That's, you know, something that I'm not interested in now. Now I'm in living mode more than I am holiday mode. So your things change, your priorities change, you know. I am in the business of an easy life, and a lot of the time here I have an easy life, apart from the brown house and things, but I'm not going to talk about them because it's supposed to be a positive video. Anyway, I've said my piece now. Hope I wasn't repetitive. I hope I didn't come over as negative. I'm going to end it now, because if I carry on I will be repetitive. If you enjoyed the video, smash the like button. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, it'd be fantastic if you did. And whether you do, whether you don't, whatever you're doing, wherever you are, stay safe. Be lucky.